When you think of board games, you might think about Monopoly or chess or Uno.
Ow!
Or maybe children's classics like Candyland.
Who's throwing these board games?
Or if you watch Stranger Things like millions of Netflix viewers, you might think of Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, Dungeons and Dragons.
But what if I told you that the board game space was bigger than that? Much, much bigger. Let me tell you about my favorite hobby and why it's the most valuable entertainment you can get today. The board game industry has a plethora of options for every type of individual, no matter the age, experience, skill, or thematic interest. We've played games with our 6-year-old like Aqua Garden, where the goal is to collect sea life into aquarium displays to complete objectives. Or Marvel United, where you can play with over 300 Marvel characters in a cooperative mission to beat the bad guys. While having fun, my 6-year-old is learning how to read, strategize, follow rules, work as a team, manage resources, lose gracefully, and building memories with mom and dad. Making memories and cultivating relationships is another value that can't be quantified by money. The community that plays board games is inclusive and accepting of all ages and backgrounds. We even have our own local board game convention right here in town called Southern Board Game Fest. Last year, the weekend event brought together 300 plus people a day to play board games. Even when we're not going to large events, we have weekly game nights with our friends. What hobbies do you have that keep you close to your friends on a regular basis? But I guess when you think about value, especially in this economy, we think about money value. So, a little comparison. A movie ticket is roughly $12.50. Popcorn and soda, another $19. 2 hours, no engagement or conversation, for 2 people is roughly $60. For less than $60, you could get a game like Sagrada. It can play up to 4 people, where you build beautiful stained glass windows and with colorful dice. Or Calico, where the puzzle is to build a beautiful blanket to humans with color, but also make it interesting to cats by matching patterns, since cats are colorblind. Now you have something you can play over and over again, with new players creating new memories, new experiences, and learning fun facts along the way. I'd say that's a pretty good return on investment. And speaking of learning, I've learned so many cool facts from playing board games. For example, Etowah is about the symbiotic relationship between fruit farmers and bats in Ghana. Or Darwin's Journey, which makes the player an explorer with Charles Darwin, discovering and documenting plants, animals, and fossils. As students and faculty of UL, we have an appreciation for the heritage of Louisiana, and there are games that center around Louisiana traditions, like French Quarter, where you're a tourist visiting hotspots around the French Quarter. For the outdoor sportsman, there's Captains of the Gulf, which centers around fishing trade in the Gulf, where players use cards to get licenses to fish for different types of seafood, upgrade their boat, or their crew. Fun fact, Captains of the Gulf was designed by a Lake Charles native named Jason Dinger, who's working on more games centered around our culture, like Crescent City Cargo, which is competing cargo companies shipping into the port of New Orleans, Acadians, Life of Early Cajun Settlers, all about early Cajun settlers of Acadiana, and Sweet Harvest, which is all about sugarcane farming. These games can expose new folks to the history and majesty of our area in a fun and engaging way. Of course, if we want to break from reality, there are amazing games that can transport you to beautiful imaginary worlds like Apiary, where you get to play as space bees who are far more advanced in the far, far future and trying to colonize and discover new planets. Or Santa's Workshop, where, you guessed it, you're elves and you're building toys and collecting reindeer. And Everdell, where the goal is to build a little town with adorable woodland creatures. Or we could switch to the complete opposite of the spectrum. You could be fighting cooperatively to escape the aliens in Nemesis, or preventing cultists from bringing on the end of the world in Cthulhu Death May Die. The possibilities are endless, and new adventures are released all the time. When you're trying to decide how to spend your time or thinking of getting into a new hobby, think about the real world and intrinsic value of all the worlds you haven't explored yet in board games. Whether you're competitive or you want to play as a team, you want something based in history or reality, or completely fantastical, there's something out there for you. Play them infinitely, build new friendships, reignite the ones you've already have, and exercise your brain and imagination. You never know how lucrative your next role might be.